This is Chairman Bennett, and I wanted to send you a message to all of you in an attempt to give you a better idea of the Biden bungle we see unfolding in Afghanistan. You know, I'm getting tired of pundits and politicians who've never been on the ground in Afghanistan and certainly don't have a clue about the real threats we face there and the real threats we face here in America by allowing unvetted refugees into the United States and Oklahoma, giving their professional opinion on the matter. You know, Sun Tzu said, if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. The catastrophic failure of former Vice President Biden, the Democrat Party, and America's generals and civilian leaders is on full display for the whole world to see as Americans are left in Afghanistan to fend for themselves, while the Taliban, the jihadi fighters, unleash a slaughter on those that are left behind. So the message to the entire world is that America is retreating with their tails tucked between their legs, that America is weak, and that Americans won't stand and fight when it really matters. The disastrous failure of the retrograde out of Afghanistan squarely falls on the shoulders of former Vice President Biden and the Democrat Party. American leaders have not only failed to exercise basic warfighting doctrine, which is you can't defeat the enemy unless you know who they are, why they fight, and how they fight, because then and only then you can formulate a counteraction to defeat them. We won't call the enemy what it is and understand their doctrine, and that's Islam and Sharia. The intentional ignorance has cost America the lives of our men and women and trillions of dollars and debilitating injuries to those who fought in this war. You cannot defeat an enemy you're unwilling to identify. 100% of the enemies we face in this war launched against the West by the armies of Muhammad, they tell us exactly who they are and why they're fighting. All of them tell us they are commanded by their God, which is Allah, to fight the entire non-Muslim world until Allah's divine law, which is Sharia law, is imposed on every human being on earth. Our enemies tell us Sharia is the blueprint for how they fight, and it is the very thing that they must impose on the world. Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, Hezbollah, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Abu Sayyaf, Tablighi Jamaat, Iran's constitution, Egypt's constitution, and the entire Islamic world under the banner of the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. They tell us the Sharia is the lens through which they view the entire world and how it governs their entire life. The entire Islamic world is on record via the Cairo Declaration on Human Rights. They said that human rights are only defined by Sharia. Yet nowhere in the entire United States government system has the enemy's doctrine, which is Sharia, been taught to our war planners, military at any rank, nor inside our diplomatic corps. Our politicians will tell you Islam's a religion of peace, and they call you Islamophobic if you even question their remarks with facts about authoritative and universally accepted Islamic doctrine. This is what we would call a catastrophic failure on our government's part. Did you know our own government wrote the Constitution for Afghanistan, which created an Islamic state under Sharia? It gave Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Osama bin Laden, and the global Islamic movement a victory in Afghanistan. Even though our troops crushed the enemy on the battlefield, our leaders lost the war in Afghanistan. And now the Biden administration and the Democrats are retreating. This is a direct slap in the face of those of us who fought over there. All the blood, sweat, tears, and lives spent seem to be just thrown to the side. So much so that the United States government is trying to relocate unvetted, primarily military-aged males, refugees, to the United States and to the state of Oklahoma. And just so you all know, Afghanistan doesn't have a criminal database. They don't have birth certificates. They don't have a database for those, driver's licenses. They don't have any way to vet non-American citizens. I was on the ground in Afghanistan, and there is no way we can properly vet these people. If the government says otherwise, they are lying to you. I mean, why would we allow the same enemy we've been fighting for 20 years in the war on terror onto American soil? This is a strategic and military blunder that will allow America's enemies onto United States and Oklahoma soil. This can't be allowed. Our government has no idea who the enemy is or what their doctrine is. I mean, if you just simply read from the most widely used textbook in Islamic schools here in the United States today, which is what Islam is all about, and you will see what the 10-year-old Muslim children are taught about Islam is the same as what Al-Qaeda or the Taliban teaches. Islam is not a religion. It's a complete way of life. That's what they teach. They also teach when you follow the Islamic way of living life, you are following the Sharia. The Sharia includes all the do's and don'ts of Islam. The Sharia is the ideal path for Muslims to follow. They also say that the law of the land is the Sharia of Allah. The leader or the Khalifa of the Islamic nation implements the Sharia in society. They also teach the basis of the legal and political system is the Sharia of Allah. Its main sources are the Quran and the Sunnah. They also teach that Muslims dream of establishing the power of Islam in the world. They also teach out of this book, if anyone dies in jihad, they automatically will go to paradise. They also teach the duty of Muslim citizens is to be loyal to the Islamic State. That's what they teach children in Islamic schools here in America today. This means that what Islamic leaders have told U.S. leaders about Islam for decades is exactly opposite of what Muslims teach their children about Islam, even here in the United States. Our government's responsibility is to protect us in our God-given rights. Why aren't we using the full might of the United States military? How about we just unleash our military and allow them to get our citizens out before they even think about bringing unvetted refugees into the United States or into our state? I think it's high time America holds its generals and civilian leaders accountable. We need to hold them accountable. Oklahomans, I encourage you to call and email the governor, call and email your legislators and tell them, do not allow Afghan refugees into Oklahoma. Instead, how about we just recommend to them to spend their time protecting our citizens first, instead of spending their time trying to bring military-age fighters into our state. By the way, they're giving them our taxpayer dollars and benefits. Oklahomans, we must take care of our own people first. Our homeless, our veterans, our elderly, and our children. It's time to put Oklahomans and America first.